को भी समझेंगे, और इसके लिए हमारे साथ बेहद ख़ास शख्सियत एक बार फिर से मौजूद हैं, GS पन्नू जी, जो कि ITAT के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर हमारे साथ इस कार्यक्रम में। सर, इस कार्यक्रम की रूपरेखा मैं ज़रूर आपको बता दूं कि हमारे साथ बहुत सारे लॉ स्टूडेंट्स भी हैं, हमारे एडिटर्स भी हैं, और वो सभी लोग आपसे, चूँकि जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि टैक्स हम सबकी समझ के बहुत बाहर सी चीज़ लगती है, कम से कम मेरी समझ के। तो एक एक करके हम आपसे सवाल पूछते रहेंगे, लेकिन सबसे पहले मेरा सवाल ये रहेगा सर कि जब इस बार का ये बजट आया 2024, बहुत ज़्यादा उम्मीद तो नहीं थी, लेकिन फिर भी जैसी बजट का नाम आते ही हमें दो तीन चीज़ें आम लोगों को आती है समझ में कि कुछ चीज़ों की कीमतें घटेंगी, कुछ चीज़ों की कीमतें बढ़ जाएंगी, और कुछ टैक्सेस में राहत मिलेगी। अब जब 7,80,000 तक पैसे पर टैक्स नहीं लगेगा, ये कहा गया है सरकार की तरफ से, कैसे संभव है ये, आप बताएं।
So I'm happy to be back here, RAJSHRI ji. In fact, budget this time was not a regular budget, or which is very appropriate also, considering that it was only a vote of account and the country is heading for elections. So definitely the new government, when the government comes back, it's only they should plan and give the entire their vision for the entire country for the next year. So therefore it's not a regular budget. So isliye, so far as the exemption limit and for 7,80,000 concerned, I think there is no change in it. So it continues the same, and taxes mein koi different nahi hai. And of course there are some things which have been continued, which we can talk about it once we start the discussion. But there is no change in the tax rates for the individuals or for anybody for that matter.
सर, एक और है कि अपने यहाँ आज की तारीख में हम देखें तो जो नई टैक्स व्यवस्था है और जो ओल्ड टैक्स सिस्टम है, दोनों एक साथ ही चल रहे हैं। आखिर क्यों चल रहे हैं, और दोनों के साथ चलने से क्या कहीं कोई ऐसा हो रहा है कि ज़्यादा हमारे लिए ये टैक्स सिस्टम मुश्किल पड़ गया है और हमें समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, या फिर ये और चीज़ों को ज़्यादा ईज बना रहा है?
बोथ द सिस्टम्स आर वर्किंग पैरेलल। ये तो आपकी चॉइस है, ऑप्शन है। पुराना सिस्टम जिस लोगों ने इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कर रखी थी ATC में, ATD में, जिनको एग्जाम्पशंस थी, सो टू प्रोटेक्ट देयर इंटरेस्ट वैसे वो ले रहे हैं। बट अदरवाइज अब तो स्टार्ट हुआ है कि बाय डिफॉल्ट इट विल बी द न्यू सिस्टम, बट बाय ऑप्शन यू कैन गो फॉर द ओल्ड सिस्टम। New system is simpler in the sense that there are no exemptions and deductions available, ATC for the LICs and PF, ATD or HRA. So those exemptions are not there. So it's more simplified that way. So it has to coexist for a certain period of time, and that's what the intention of the government is.
Okay, we'll start the questions also. Yeah. वहाँ पे दो.
Yeah. Hi, sir. So do you think this budget was able to make sufficient provisions for entrepreneurship in India, for promoting startups in India?
Well, very limited scope it was for the government to do this time, because merely a vote on account, so there was not a full-fledged budget. But all the same, you would have seen that the focus has not been lost by the government, because they have continued the tax exemptions for the startups. They have also continued the tax exemptions for another year for the company which are operating from International Financial Services Center, IFC, and also the foreign sovereign funds, the pension funds, and so also the startups. So therefore they have been continued. So which shows that there is a continuity also of our policies and initiatives taken by the government. And overall, considering everything, it's a movement what the Prime Minister has been saying, Viksit Bharat. So whatever is allocated, look at the amount of capital expenditure which has been allocated. 11% is what is there for the capital outlay, which is 11.11 lakh crores of rupees. There is a continuity, there is a philosophy which is continuing.
सर, एक जैसे इनकम टैक्स की जब बात आती है तो हम सभी लोग परेशान होते हैं इनकम टैक्स नोटिस से। In this budget, finance minister has given some kind of options for the notices. खासकर तब जब बहुत कम पैसे के लिए भी नोटिस आती है, किस तरह की राहत है वो?
So that benefit is जिनकी पुरानी demands which are appearing on the registers of the government 2009 से पहले के और उसके 2015 से पहले के, wherever the demands are about 25,000 odd up to 2009 and 10,000 rupees for 2015 onwards, those have been kind of, those litigation in those will be dropped. That is the objective. In fact, it is more to, the Revenue Secretary had explained this other day, this has more to do with the overall system which the government is developing. Everything is being digitized. So therefore, to align their records also within in the framework of the new digitalized world, and also to provide quite burial to something which is just being there without any recoveries being there, without any bothering the people. So, and the rules are being made out. So there's only a scheme which she has announced. The rule has to be made out. The FM has only announced a scheme. In fact, that waiver will not be more than 1 lakh per person for that matter. So that's something which is good to clean up the records and also remove headaches of small taxpayers. जो पुरानी headaches हैं उनकी खत्म हो जाएंगे उससे. So that's important.
लेकिन क्या इससे ITAT में भी जो cases हैं उनकी pendency है वो भी खत्म होगी?
नहीं, इसका ITAT के pendency से नहीं link होता है.
Okay. अब आगे अगर हम बढ़ें और एक और जो बड़ी बात मैंने देखी है बजट में वो है कि 3 जो सदर्न जो स्टेट्स थे उन्होंने आरोप लगाया था कि उन पर प्रतिबंध लगा दिया गया है 15वें वित्त आयोग की सिफारिशों के कारण उन पर उनके पास पैसे नहीं भेजे जा रहे हैं. CAG रिपोर्ट के अनुसार अगर हम चलें तो आपको क्या लगता है कि डायरेक्ट टैक्स जो होता है वो उससे राज्यों को फ़ायदा होता है?
The direct tax comes to the kitty of the entire country as such. So there are fixed norms set out by the parliament and by the constitution also, by which it is distributed to different states. The matter right now, FM has also answered the same thing in the parliament, and definitely it is for everybody in the country as per the laid down principles.
लेकिन खुश नहीं है बहुत सारे स्टेट्स. और सवाल?
जी.
हेलो.
हाँ, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हेलो.
Sir,
what can be the pros and cons of this new interim budget for upcoming Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha elections?
Well, I am not
very political.
I may not be the right person to be saying that, but you have to look at it as a citizen. Whatever the objectives of the governments are, for example, it has a focus on ease of the life, ease of living in the country. It has allocation for women empowerment by supporting the self-help groups. There's allocation for there. There's allocation for Yuva also there, for young entrepreneurs. So all this is the environment which is being created for continued development and investment climate in the country. And so also for the foreign funds that I have just spoken about. So it's a budget which is not a regular budget, but at the same time it continues with clarity and certainty which the government has.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
जी, सबसे पहले मैं आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि आप इस पब्लिक शो में आए और इस तरह के सवालों को आप जवाब दे रहे हैं. इससे ट्रांसपेरेंसी भी आती है. दूसरी चीज़ मेरा सवाल है, इनकम टैक्स में आप लंबे समय तक काम किए हैं, फेसलेस सिस्टम इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया. उसके बाद देखा गया कि अपीलेट ट्रिब्यूनल के सामने ढेर सारे केसेज और बढ़ गए हैं, उनकी संख्या मल्टीपल में हो गई है. जो मैंने अधिकारियों से बात किया उन्होंने कहा कि जब पहले कोई आता था, कोई इशू होता था तो हमारे यहाँ हम लोग सुन लेते थे, उनसे समझते थे. कई बार हम लोगों को भी आइडिया नहीं होता था कैसे क्या है. चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आते थे. अब वो है कि आप पेपर में रिप्लाई कर दो, पेपर में सारी चीज़ें चलती हैं. फेस टू फेस होता नहीं, उससे नुकसान होता है. तो आपको क्या लगता है कि फेसलेस सिस्टम बोझ हो गया है या करप्शन को रोका है?
सबसे पहले तो आई लाइक टू जस्ट गिव द बैकग्राउंड एंड ऑल्सो करेक्ट सम ऑफ द थिंग्स विच यू जस्ट सेड. इनकम टैक्स ट्राइब्यूनल में पेंडेंसी इंक्रीज नहीं हुई है, डिक्रीज हुई है 5 साल से. एंड टुडे वी आर एट आवर हिस्टोरिकल लोएस्ट. And very soon we will also get our full complement of members in the tribunal. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is that the complications which arise from a new system. So faceless online system, a नया system है. Filing of your cases is online today. Assessments are being done in a faceless manner in the sense that आपको अपने ऑफिस में बैठ के ही अपने कम्युनिकेशंस का जवाब लिखना है and you respond and you get your assessments. Also at the first appearance stage, you can respond in the same way. Of course, if you want hearing, they give you a video hearing also. So ऐसा नहीं है कि interface totally खत्म हो गया है. There is an interface there, which is kept to the minimum. Now, as to whether this is a good system or a bad system, there are two ways to look at it. If you look at the macro level, then if you see the last 10 years, the tax collections have gone up by 3 times vis-a-vis the earlier 10 years. The number of taxpayers has gone about 2.5 times. And every year, the tax collection is better than the earlier year. So this is how the technology is helping in raising resources. Now that's at the macro level. Now for the micro level, whenever there's a new system, as the taxpayers के लिए भी नया है, so is also for the officers of the department also. So there are bound to be some teething troubles. But the department is proactive. Look at the time taken to process your refunds. There is a study which is published which said that it used to be 3 months, 95 days in the earlier times, and now it's 10 days in the last year. So therefore, everything has to wait for it to evolve. In fact, as a faceless assessment, the taxpayer is as much happy also, because they are not burdened with going to the department and often wasting time. You professionals should be better utilizing your time in looking at a technical problem rather than going and sitting in the tax offices, which you might as well do sitting in your offices also. So therefore, these are all, and in any case, one must wait for more time to evaluate as to what changes it does need. But it's evolving.
बिल्कुल. और सर जब फेसलेस सिस्टम की बात हो रही है तो बहुत सरकार की तरफ से ये भी एक घोषणा की गई बहुत जल्द ही कि हम एआई का यूज अब आएगा, इनकम टैक्स सिस्टम में भी आएगा. जीएसटी के कुछ जगहों पे किया भी गया है कि ताकि जो जीएसटी के ऐसे इन्वेजन करने वालों को पकड़ा जा सके. एआई का यूज, आपको लगता है कि हम इसके लिए तैयार हैं और इसमें ये बिल्कुल ऐसा होगा कि जो गलतियों से भरा नहीं रहेगा?
AI के लिए definitely AI is something which is going to affect our lives from all sides. तो tax administration भी उससे free नहीं है. और जितना जल्दी हम उसको यूज़ करेंगे, जितना जल्दी उसमें हम expertise हासिल करेंगे यूज़ करने के, उतना ही ज़्यादा जल्दी हमको benefit रहेगा. Even in fact, if you look at the bulletins of GST, they use AI in a very big way. और उनको they are able to pinpoint. They are able to look at the fraud, they are able to pinpoint the leakages of revenues also. And it provides the system with some kind of integrity also. In an impersonal manner, if you look at analyze things, AI is there to provide integrity also to the data and to the entire process. So ultimately it's going to help us, yes, in order to devise a system which is for our good, it takes a while, which we are all going through.
बिल्कुल. और सवाल? Yeah.
Hello sir, how will the new budget impact foreign?
What is your name?
Ma'am Aarti. How will the new budget impact foreign companies in India?
Well, as I said that, Aarti, there is no provisions as such here in the new budget because all that has to wait till July. But definitely the continuation is always there in the sense that even the foreign pension funds and the foreign sovereign funds and which are operating in the International Financial Services Center, IFC, all those can continue with their investment into the Indian concerns. Of course, so far as the manufacturing companies, the foreign manufacturing companies, they do enjoy a reduced rate of 15%. I am sure and I am confident that once the July regular budget is there, that will also be taken up in the same spirit as it has been now done for extending the duration of exemptions to startups and other foreign sovereign funds and pension funds.
Okay, thank you sir.
Yeah. Next question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Mayank. So, sir, since India has witnessed a massive growth in terms of technology in the past years, my question would be, how will the current tax system ensure an effective taxation of digital goods and services? Thank you, sir.
Well, there are two sides to it. So one is that, of course, the present system of in the tax administration, for instance, GST, it has a system of e-invoicing. It has a system of you have to quote your generation of e-invoices, you have to quote your GSTN number, the PIN number, and all those things are there, which will take care of this. The other aspect is that even for the taxation part of it, in the direct taxes, we do have the concept of equalization levy. Even for the digitalized foreign digitalized advertisements, as also cross-border transactions, there is equalization levy also there. So these are all evolving concepts, and we are getting on with that. Secondly, India is also now, renegotiating a tax treaties with the foreign countries. So all that is happening side by side. So India is well equipped for that matter.
Yeah, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is Divyansh. Sir, my main concern was, as my father is a businessman, real estate businessman, he has to go to many CAs to file his income tax return. But our finance minister said that we are working on tax payment services, so that we can pay the taxes easily. Sir, but I don't think so. From 10 years, I am seeing that he is going to regularly visiting to CAs during March and April, and it's like a big task to file that.
Well, he should not go to many CAs. One CA is good enough. But you see, the government has been taking measures over the last so many years for reducing the drudgery of dealing with the tax department, may it be filings, may it be seeking your refunds, may it be compliances with their notices, this faceless assessment, online filings, all is a step towards that direction. And look at it, even over a period of time now in this year, I am told that they have already notified all the tax forms, tax return forms that were required to be notified, which earlier used to be delayed, but this year they have done all the forms have been notified now. So slowly and slowly these things will improve, and it does take a while even for the businesses and even for the professionals to get used to the technology. But don't forget that even the officers also have to get used to that on the other side. So it's a collaborative approach, and I'm sure things will improve in times to come. They have already improved, because you can get your responses from the department, from the CPC in no time these days.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I have a question. That why there are two slabs in tax? One is 5 lakh slab and one is 7 lakh slab. What is the basic logic of two slab system?
I would not know that, frankly, because what slabs are.
One is 5 lakh slab for the income tax return, and one is 7 lakh slab.
No, I'm sorry, I would not know this, because some practitioner will be able to tell you better. I will not know this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But sir, as a government is really hard, really trying कि tax system को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा easy बनाया जाए, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा equipped बनाया जाए, as we talked about AI and all. So ITAT, how this institution is aligning with this whole idea?
See, ITAT is a neutral body. We are not involved in the policy formulation or for the collection targets of the government or their vision for raising the taxes or framing of tax laws. But yes, we are a neutral body which settles disputes between taxpayers and the department. So therefore, at times, that's what I told him. I would not know how to compute a tax liability, but I would know how to settle a tax dispute between the two. So we are not really there, for that matter, in the kinds of policy formulation. But yes, a very important aspect of the tax administration is justice to be given to the taxpayer and to the state also, and to the state and the government, as to settle the disputes between them honestly, in an efficient manner, as also in a fair manner. That is where the tribunal comes in. Tribunal has been there since 1941. This is the oldest tribunal in the country, and orders are treated to be final on facts. It's only on the question of substantial question of law. By admission, the matters can go to High Court or the Supreme Court. So therefore, tribunal's role is limited to providing judicial dispensation to the disputes between the taxpayers and the revenue department.
सर लेकिन जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी की एंट्री होगी किसी भी जगह पे होती है, तो अब हमारे यहाँ साइबर लॉज वैसे भी बहुत कमज़ोर हैं. इनफैक्ट अभी ढंग से बने भी नहीं हैं. इस वक्त अमेरिका में भी लगातार बहस चल रही है, जैसा कि हम लगातार देख रहे हैं कि फेसबुक, ट्विटर, तमाम कंपनीज़ के हेड्स को बुलाया जा रहा है और उनसे पूछा जा रहा है राइट टू प्राइवेसी को लेके और राइट टू फॉरगॉटन और तमाम इश्यूज़ पे पूछा जा रहा है। मेरा ये आपसे ज़रूर जानना होगा कि इनकम टैक्स जो है वो इन एनी केस हमारे लिए एक राइट टू प्राइवेसी का एक हिस्सा है। हालांकि सब कुछ अब हम तो बताने लगे हैं, लेकिन जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी आएगी इसमें जाहिर सी बात है कि और तरीके के कॉम्प्लिकेशंस आ सकती हैं। जैसे हमने एआई की बात कही, हो सकता है कि उसमें भी कहीं सारी प्रॉब्लम्स आएँ। ऐसे में क्या आपको लगता है कि हमारी ट्राइब्यूनल्स इतनी शक्तिशाली हैं या इतनी वेल इक्विप्ड हो चुकी हैं कि इस तरह के तमाम चैलेंजेस के लिए रेडी हो चुकी हैं?
Oh yes, our data storages, our data, the way we handle the data, it's quite secure and there is a complete integrity for that matter. अब तो tribunal में we have allowed e-filing of all your appeals, all your applications, all your case compilations, all your paper books, all that can be e-filed. And secondly, we are also permitting hybrid hearings in the sense that if a person doesn't want to come physically to the courtroom, आप video conferencing से join कर सकते हैं. And we have, but our access to the data is within our own regime. There is administrative control over it as to who all can access the data. Those things are, we are governed by our own rules and regulations for that matter. That's quite secure in that sense.
That's good. और सवाल? Yeah.
So good evening, sir. Sir, I am Vivek. So my question is that what are the key reforms that we are expecting looking forward that might bring and enhance the sustainable development in India and also rise the standard of living of people here?
Well, it's for somebody in the government to answer that. I'm not the right person. But if you look at even in this budget also, which is only a vote on account, a very interim budget, even there also the government's intention is very clear. On account of sustainable development, they have already come out with that there is in wind energy there is a viability gap financing which they have announced. They have also announced that solar rooftop solarization projects for 3 crore households and all. All that is a step towards all this, and then plus they are also giving encouragement to e-vehicles. So all this is what in the sustainable development is all about. And then if you look at it in other manner, even the aspect of providing money to that Lakhpati Didis and for people at the rural areas to come out and use technology, so that also is a model of sustainable development.
So do you think that ease of doing का जो एक ड्रीम है गवर्नमेंट का, वो इस बजट से काफ़ी हेल्प मिलेगा?
Well, certainly it's a step in the same direction जो गवर्नमेंट ने पहले लिया, उसके continuation ही है steps इसमें जो अभी announce किया है. But we have to wait for the full-fledged budget in July जब वो लेके आएंगे.
और सवाल?
Good evening, sir. This is Divyam. So, like as all we know in India, this income tax is imposed to like those who have high income, so they can pay the tax, and due to which those who don't have income and the government may help them. So, but sir, in certain parts of India, like those who are earning high amount of income, to show the less income, they distribute the black money or the cash, we say liquid cash, to individuals in the count of individuals are not defined. Many individuals are there, and the company's holder, like those who own that company, they start an NGO and they say that give that all cash as a donation to that NGO, so that all that money it becomes a circle and it comes back to them. So as an income tax officer, so what are the initiative that can be taken by your side or by the income tax department to just reduce this all?
Well, this सवाल is basically उनके लिए जो tax administration के field में काम करते हैं. But then जो आपने example दिया, hypothetical example, this is the case of a malpractice, and no system can withstand any malpractice. Now, so therefore, there's one thing which is important is the use of AI will help you in detecting malpractices, because now there's a linkage of what you do in your GST. There's a linkage in what you do in income tax returns. There's a linkage in what you do with your bankers in your bank statements. and these transactions which are taking place in cash. So for example, now there is a requirement of annual information returns to be filed. Even the banks are supposed to give those information. The big, the registrars of society, the registrars with who register, your sale deeds and all, they are supposed to provide. So these are checks and balances in the system to know where the money moves, if they are moves in a very abnormal manner. और जहाँ तक सवाल है कि कोई किसी को ऐसे पेमेंट करके कुछ कर रहा है, I am sure it's a matter of time before it is detected now. Yes, these are things which are there in the system, but they have been reduced. They are reducing now. That also we see, because हमारे पास जो litigation आती है ट्राइब्यूनल में, the kind of litigation से पता लग जाता है कि what are the kind of malpractices or what are the kind of differences with the income tax officer किस तरह के हैं. So these kind of things are being now very, very reducing. You would have heard the concept of shell companies and people making sham transactions and all. So the jurisprudence has improved and अभी वो चीज़ें कम हो रही हैं आगे चल के. So ये चीज़ें eradicate नहीं हो सकेंगी, लेकिन कम ज़रूर हो रही हैं अभी.
रोज सब्जी का स्वाद बढ़ाए और घर वालों का प्यार पाए. गोल्डी सब्जी मसाले,
जहाँ जाए रिश्ते बनाए, गोल्डी मसाले.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और प्यार से बनाए खाने की सुगंध. मैं सबके साथ हूँ, सबकी जुबान पर हूँ, सबके स्वाद में हूँ. MDH गरम मसाला, असली मसालों से भरा हूँ मैं.
MDH गरम मसाला, क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा.
रूप मंत्रा आयुर्वेदिक फेस वॉश. इसमें है क्यूकम्बर के प्योर एक्सट्रैक्ट्स जो नेचुरली चेहरे को मॉइस्चराइज रखे. ये कोई कॉस्मेटिक नहीं, आयुर्वेदिक औषधि है.
पाव भाजी, पाव भाजी को फेवरेट बनाता है MDH पाव भाजी मसाला.
टेस्टी पाव भाजी की यही पहचान, MDH पाव भाजी मसाला. इसके बिना पाव भाजी कहाँ बनती है.
MDH पाव भाजी मसाला. MDH बनाए पाव भाजी लाजवाब.
असली मसाले सच सच MDH.
वृक्ष लगाओ, दुनिया बचाओ. हमसे हो हरियाली.
India Legal makes the difference because we bring you only the news that count.
India Legal, stories that count.
When we talk about tax, सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है जो स्टार्टअप्स हैं, कंपनीज़ हैं. अगर उनको ध्यान में रख के देखा जाए तो अभी जो सिस्टम है वो कितना हेल्पफुल है. ऐसे अभी हाल फिलहाल में हमने बहुत सारी यूनिकॉर्न कंपनीज़ देखी. अब कुछ दिनों से यूनिकॉर्न कंपनीज़ बननी रुक गई हैं, एक तरह से बन नहीं पा रही हैं. क्या आपको लगता है इसकी वजह टैक्स सिस्टम है हमारा, या फिर ये स्टार्टअप्स और इस तरह की नई कंपनीज़ के लिए बहुत हेल्पफुल है अभी का जो सिस्टम है वो?
टैक्स, आई कैन ओनली स्पीक फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ टैक्स. टैक्स में तो देयर इज इनफ टैक्स बेनिफिट्स फॉर देम. they are spared of the stringent norms of valuations if they have to raise resources, the share capital, even on the capital gains for them when they have to sell their capital assets to invest in other capital assets. And all those things are there. Tax is not an issue with them. The other environment that is being addressed by the government, I would not like to go further on that.
और सवाल?
जी सर, मेरा एक सवाल है कि जो ग्रे एरिया होता है, जैसे गेमिंग है जिसके बारे में अभी पहले रूल नहीं था, क्रिप्टो करेंसी थे, उस पर जब ऐसे केसेज आप लोगों के पास आते हैं तो कैसे डील करते हैं? जिसके बारे में ना गवर्नमेंट को कुछ आइडिया था, ग्रे एरिया था ना उसमें?
So that's right. तो बेटर है कोई केस लेके आइए फिर बताएंगे. Because you see these are areas which are yet, even the transactions have to be understood. Sometimes we are faced with the transactions which we have never even experienced in our own careers when we were in the profession. And so also it is with the officers in the field. तो ये चीज़ें evolving है, but there are set principles of law, and we are able to we take decisions accordingly.
तो कहीं ट्रेनिंग के लिए भी कोशिश हो रही है कि जो नई नई चीज़ें आ रही हैं उसके लिए जो आपके ऑफिसर्स हैं उनको ट्रेन किया जाए? या जनरली होता क्या है कि जब एक बार ऑफिसर बन जाता है तो टेंडेंसी हो जाती है कि उसको सब आता है, और जबकि हकीकत ये होती है उसको कुछ नहीं आता.
No, income tax department, I am not from the department,
Yeah.
but they have very formalized and a very laid down principle system of training, and the time to time training, unki mid career training, and otherwise all the training schedules are there, and they are well equipped for that matter. So far we are concerned in the tribunal, our training is basically on judicial acumen, which we developed with experience, with reading, and with applying the principles of the case laws. And we see also guidance from what the Supreme Court says, what the High Court say. So all those things are there for us to, and of course the lawyers come before us and argue their matters and bring out the best of the legal principles. And we also fall back in our own study for that matter.
बट सर अगर मैं पूछूँ ITAT को ही लेकर तो सबसे ज़्यादा इस वक्त का चैलेंज क्या है आपके सामने, ITAT के सामने?
So far as our pendency is concerned, this is never a challenge for us. The only challenge is that at times the lawyers fraternity, they take things a bit easy. Okay, तारीख ले लेते हैं. So that is one thing which we feel that the party, there has to be more and more client education also, and telling them कि आप efficiently तैयारी करिए cases की और अपने cases निपटाइए. See, as professionals, you must tell your clients कि जो litigation जितनी जल्दी finish हो जाए उन business के benefit के लिए है. Supposing if you were to lose a case ultimately, if you lose it 3 years down the line, or you lose today, unnecessarily you will pay interest on that time. So therefore, be efficient in your affairs with the government, especially with the taxation matters, so that the businessman remains focused in doing his business, is not distracted with going in for litigation more and more.
सर बजट और PSU बहुत जुड़े हुए से लगते हैं. जो गवर्नमेंट का जो प्लान है अपकमिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट को लेके, खासकर पब्लिक सेक्टर्स में, हाउ विल कमेंट ऑन दैट?
See, PSUs is a great focus area for this government, especially, and that even the budget also shows that. And it can be linked to a consistent policy for the last 10 years, and that has been the increase in the capital outlays. And the third thing which you should link with this is the focus on keeping the fiscal discipline. And abhi this time also FM has already announced that the estimate is 5.1 of the fiscal deficit, and the next year is going to be even better, and they're going to come to 4.5% next year. So therefore, this is an area which is all linked. This is what is Make in India, this is what is Atmanirbhar Bharat, and only then we can go in for Viksit Bharat. So therefore, PSUs are now doing very well. Then what if some of you who are well versed with what is happening in the stock markets, PSU stocks देखिए, they are improving. The investor confidence is growing in the PSU shares, so it shows that they are doing better, and they need to do because they are public wealth.
Actually, yeah.
A very good evening, sir and ma'am. Sir, I'm Sandesha Paliwal, and my question is, what is the old and new tax regime, and why both of them are implemented together?
I think पहले बोला है इसके बारे में, लेकिन वो ये कि एक पुरानी चल रही थी स्कीम जिसके लिए, तो उसमें जो टैक्स कंसेशन अवेलेबल थे वो उसने अपना प्लान किया इन्वेस्टमेंट, तो वो चलती रहे, बट दोनों पैरेलल चल रही हैं. सो देयर इज एन ऑप्शन. आई थिंक द प्रोविजन इज कि जो नया स्कीम है इट इज़ बाय डिफॉल्ट, अदरवाइज यू मेक एन ऑप्शन ऑफ द अर्लियर स्कीम. सो विच एवर यू फाइंड बेनिफिशियल, इट्स गुड, बट इट्स ऑल द सेम टाइम द आइडिया इज दैट द ओल्ड टैक्स पेयर, द ओल्ड रिजीम वाले जिन लोगों ने अपने प्लान किए हुए अफेयर्स in a particular manner of making investments, they can keep doing if it works well for them. So it's a good option.
सर एक जब टैक्स सिस्टम की हम बात करते हैं तो एक के बाद एक हमने देखा है कि कई तरह के, हालांकि ये कहा गया था कि नो टैक्स कंट्री सॉर्ट ऑफ हमारी हो जाएगी, वन टैक्स, जस्ट वन टैक्स, जब जीएसटी आया था जिसको मजाक में मीडिया में गब्बर सिंह टैक्स कहा गया और कहा गया कि केवल एक टैक्स लगेगा, लेकिन स्टिल वी आर पेइंग सो मेनी टैक्सेस, इनकम टैक्स है, सर्विस टैक्सेस हैं, और जीएसटी तो है ही। डू यू थिंक कि हमने वो जो एक ड्रीम देखा था जस्ट वन टैक्स कंट्री, उस तरह से हम पहुंच पाए हैं, या कहाँ प्रॉब्लम कहाँ हो रही है?
No, GST was not to be taken as a substitute for income tax, the direct taxes. GST ने तो कितने टैक्सेस तो कर ही दिए ख़त्म, उसके बाद ही GST एक सिंगल टैक्स रहा. So I think this distinction is between direct taxes and indirect taxes. So अभी तो जो हमारी कंट्री की स्टेज है as a plain student of economy, I feel that still there is a lot of scope for progressive taxation, and GST also is something which is very progressive because it does classify the rate of taxation depending on the products which, if the products which are used by the common masses, they are not taxed at a rate which is applicable to products which are being used by very select few. So therefore ये चीज़ें हैं अभी हमारे सिस्टम में. Direct, there is a lot of scope for more progressive taxation, and as the country grows, as our GDP improves, as we grow from a country of strength to another strength of being a developed country, you will find the ratio of the direct taxes improving for that matter, even vis-a-vis the indirect taxes, and that's what the reflection will be of a
So
developed
direct
state.
tax will help to middle class as well, sir?
अभी तो इस बजट में कुछ मिडिल क्लास के लिए है नहीं, तो वी हैव टू वेट टिल जुलाई व्हेन एफएम प्रेजेंट्स द रेगुलर बजट ऑन द टैक्स रेट्स एंड ऑल. बट यस, it is the middle class which is the strength of the country as of today, because that's where the working class comes in, and of course we are contributing as middle class.
और सर जब आप प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन कहते हैं तो उससे हम आम लोग क्या समझें? Increased tax alignment or something like that?
No, when I say progressive, what it means, it's very fair rate of taxes and fair compliance by the taxpayers, so we have a wider tax base. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. और सवाल? जी.
Good evening, sir. My name is Karthik. Sir, my question is that what are the specific tax benefits available for the startups and provident funds in India?
Startups, as I just said, that startups ka ek to the tax shelter on their second thing is that they are also free from the valuation norms if they have to raise share capital from some institutional investors. The third is that when they have to sell their capital assets and reinvest in some other capital assets, they are free from taxation. So all those benefits are there. It's primarily an environment for startups where they have tax benefits, and these have been extended by 1 year now. If they were to, because startups which which were to start before 31st March 24, the date is extended till 31st March 25 now.
Yeah. और कौन? Vikram, yeah, please.
Sorry? Well, you see, geopolitical, developments are something which do affect the balance sheet, in the sense that starting from the country, you would have seen that our sourcing of, after the Ukraine war started, our sourcing of oil had to be very dynamically altered, for that matter, to retain the advantage of getting the right kind of crude oil. And so does it happen with even the individual companies. So companies which are having transactions there, having businesses there, they do get impacted with that. The regulatory mechanism comes in, the embargoes come in. So those things are there. In fact, in those years, in last year when this was happening, you would have noticed in the newspapers the talk of windfall profit being lowered and being increased with those things. So therefore, these are the areas which affect. And the government is very alive to it, for that matter. And the common citizens have not felt the kind of drudgery they would have gone through if the government had not been efficiently handling the import of crude oil, for that matter. and which was directly affected by the geopolitical, war of Russia and Ukraine.
बिल्कुल सर एफडीआई एक बहुत बड़ा सेगमेंट है हमारे लिए और ख़ासकर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के लिए कि जहाँ पर ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग आएँ यहाँ पे इन्वेस्ट करें। लेकिन अगर हमने पिछले कई अगर सालों का हम रिकॉर्ड देखें, ख़ासकर पिछले बजट का भी रिकॉर्ड देखें, तो एफडीआई घटी है, लोग आ नहीं रहे हैं। क्या आपको लगता है कि इसके लिए थोड़ा और हमें सोचने की ज़रूरत है या गवर्नमेंट उसके लिए कुछ अलग से कुछ करने जा रही है?
You see, India is a very uniquely placed country in the world, in the sense that our economy is still doing well in comparison to what the other economies are doing. No, and the other aspect of that, FDI kam hui hai, it's not so. If you look at the figure of FDI should not be measured on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah.
Maybe over a period of time, because when the governments, the state, the countries take some decisions, it takes some time for them to fructify. Over the last 10 years, the FDI which has come in is almost 6 times what was earlier than 10 years. So therefore, it's an environment which is on the right path, and I don't think there's going to be any problem on the FDI front. Rather, we need to create more resources to absorb FDI and see that they are efficiently handled in the country. And that is why the focus of the government on capital outlays, on infrastructure, on bringing in technology more and more in our reformatory stage of each of our institutions for that matter. So therefore, we are in the right track for that matter.
सर बहुत सारे स्टेट्स में, इनफैक्ट अभी हर एक स्टेट्स में इन्वेस्टर समिट्स होते हैं। भारत में भी भारत सरकार भी अलग से करती है और हर एक स्टेट में इन्वेस्टर समिट्स होते हैं। बहुत सारे बातें होती हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट की बातें होती हैं और उनको टैक्स की सुविधाएं भी देने की बात सरकारें करती हैं। बट स्टिल वो समिट ऐसे बन गए हैं जैसे कुछ दिन का वो एक उत्सव होता है और वो ख़त्म हो जाता है। कागज़ पे वो बातें होती हैं, ज़मीन पे नहीं उतरती। क्या ये फ़र्क आपको लग रहा है कि टैक्स की वजह से है? दूसरा एक और सर सवाल मेरा इससे जुड़ा भी है। जब हम एफडीआई की बात कर रहे थे, कई ऐसी बड़ी कंपनीज जब हमारे यहाँ आते हैं और हम लोगों ने बातें की उनसे, उनका ये कहना होता है कि यहाँ का जो लीगल सिस्टम है, ख़ासकर इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस को लेके या फिर इस तरह से इन्वेस्टमेंट को लेके जो लीगल सिस्टम है वो बहुत क्लियर नहीं है, बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंट नहीं है, बहुत लंबा वक्त लगता है, इसलिए वो भारत में बिजनेस करने नहीं आना चाहते। डू यू थिंक इसमें ITAT का भी कोई रोल आ जाता है?
No, ITAT has an important role to play in the sense that businesses are not meant to be in litigation, and their business is to do business and not to litigate. So, and if at all there is a litigation, that should be settled efficiently, it should be settled objectively and in a very simplistic manner. और ये तीनों principles पे ITAT खरा उतरता है. Our motto itself is impartial, easy and speedy justice. And that's why I'm saying कि for instance Delhi में जो भी अपील फाइल हुई है नवंबर और दिसंबर 2023 में, वो ऑलरेडी बेंच के सामने हेयरिंग के लिए लग चुकी है. So the objective of giving a faster hearing, the objective of giving a faster resolution of the tax disputes and very objective decision making is something which will ease the problems of businessmen. That's what we stand for.
बिल्कुल। और जो मैंने बात की उसकी इन्वेस्टर समिट्स की, डू यू थिंक दैट्स अ वेरी गुड अप्रोच टू अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टर्स, या उससे ज़्यादा कहीं हम लोग शायद गवर्नमेंट ये काम कर सकती है कि टैक्सेस में सुविधाएं दे या इस तरह की घोषणाएं ज़्यादा अट्रैक्ट करेंगी इन्वेस्टर्स को रादर इन्वेस्टर समिट्स?
Well, that's not my field, but what I feel is certainly so long as there is a continued dialogue between a country and the investors, unless there is a dialogue, one is not able to get across. And that is very, very important for a country like us to able to showcase. And that's what the Prime Minister said the other day. The G20 could have happened in one city in Delhi, but it went to different cities in the country, 60 places in the country, because they could see every nook and corner of the country, the potential investors, the potential people who knew what is the strength of the country or not. So these are, I am sure the dialogue is definitely quite necessary. It is imperative for a country to be showcased, and that's what our Prime Minister is doing.
सर अगर पूरे वर्ल्ड में देखा जाए, अलग अलग देशों के अगर टैक्स सिस्टम को आप देखें, अकॉर्डिंग टू यू विच टैक्स सिस्टम इज़ आइडियल? And I mean, you would like to, I mean, that system should, you know, India को वैसी system में आना चाहिए.
You see, इस सवाल में राजश्री जी बिल्कुल कट एंड पेस्ट वाला नहीं हम जवाब दे सकते कि A system और B system. You see, India is a developing country. It has diverse requirements. Its area is so diverse. There are certain backward areas, there are forward areas, there are industrialized areas, non-industrialized areas, somewhere which has more generation of employment necessities are there. So there it's with so much of diversity, the physical laws, the direct tax laws are also used as tools for development. So there used to be provisions to say that if you set up industries in backward areas, so they will get tax concessions. The idea was to develop those areas. Similarly, the power sector, the PLI scheme of the government today. So all these are schemes, all these are measures which are taken with the objective of making all-round development of the country. So therefore, it depends. The tax policies have to be aligned with the aspirations of the country, the requirements of its economy, and the way, what are the intrinsic strengths are of the country. Like India today is the largest, is one of the huge markets for the world, for the foreign companies to come in. So we have to tailor our requirements accordingly for that matter. So they would not be, I wouldn't say there is a particular method, but a method by which India gets its fair share of taxes in the world businesses. That's what should be.
बिल्कुल. और सवाल? Yeah. Let her ask first. You have already asked a question. First she will ask, then you can. Yeah.
Good evening, sir and ma'am. Myself Ayushi. I want to ask, how does the budget balance the need of fiscal consolidation and the growth? Because as of now, India is having a fiscal deficit of 9.8 lakh crore.
Yeah, that's a very important question and very rightly put. You see, the very fact that we are focused on controlling our fiscal deficit and fiscal discipline, coupled with the fact that in spite of there being 5.8% deficit, and which is quite favorably, and next year it is even said to be 5.1%, thereafter 4.5%. At the same time, there is no let up in the capital investment, because ultimately the investments have to come in. We have to ensure that the investments made be from the private sector also. The infrastructure that is being grown in the country for the last 10 years will also give encouragement to the private sector. The private sector also has to come in. It is the investment into the infrastructure, the capital flows into the investment, and that's what in fact the foreign pension funds, the foreign sovereign funds, they have been again notified to continue with the exemptions. All this is going to help in making investment come into the country, and that's where we have to move forward in all-round development of Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and of course the Viksit Bharat. That's the whole focus, and the government has not lost focused on these points, even this interim budget also.
Yeah, next. Yeah.
Hello, sir. So my question is,
Can you stand up,
recently
please?
discussed.
Can you stand up so that camera can take? Yeah.
Sir, you recently discussed about the PSUs and its profitability. I will bring your attention to the Scooters India and its losses. Sir, do you think that there is a scope of disinvestment, and why we are not discussing about the disinvestment?
Well, disinvestment is the policy of the government, which is a declared policy, and they would go by case-to-case basis. I am not an expert. I wouldn't be able to comment on an individual concern, but there is definitely a focus of the government to monetize its own resources, and thereafter also increase the worth of the public money which is involved there. And that is why the PSUs are, if that is the focus of the government, that's why the PSUs today are doing better than the earlier times.
Yeah, next.
So, like as you all said, we will use AI in income tax and in other part of, like, it is really useful to rely on AI and tech so much, because on 16th May 2023 there was a case from Karnataka. A 32 years man have hacked income tax server, and he entered in that, and he during ITR filing and all, how we get the refunds and all. So he hacked the income tax server and he got the refunds on his own account. So, sir, like a 32-year guy failed 160 years old department. So,
no, well, you see, we can't move forward only with the fear of any malpractice. And one odd break-in cannot usurp or can take away the benefits of what the AI is. And those kind of things used to happen much more in earlier times when there was a manual system. There was no system at all at those times, when they put it like this. But that's not how we have to look at it. There are checks and balances. But the fact that it was also caught, the AI itself caught him. So these things we cannot be distracted from one odd incident happening. But all the same, one has to learn and move forward from there.
और मेरे ख्याल से सर अगर इस तरह की हैकिंग होती है तो केवल चैलेंज न केवल सरकार के लिए है या ITAT जैसी संस्थाओं के लिए, बल्कि उनके लिए भी है जो इनके केसेस लड़ेंगे, वो वकीलों के लिए भी होगा. तो क्या आपको लगता है सर कि इस तरह के मामलों के लिए जो ख़ास तौर पे वो एडवोकेट्स जो इसी में एक्सपर्ट बनना चाहें, वो ITAT के सामने अगर पेश होना चाहें, इन लोगों के लिए जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो क्या कुछ अलग तरीके की ट्रेनिंग या इंटर्नशिप या कुछ इस तरह से संस्थाएं भी आयोजित करती हैं?
इनफैक्ट ITAT के सामने तो ये चीज़ें बहुत मिनिमल हैं, बट अदरवाइज जो इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एक्ट है, दैट हैज़ अ पोटेंशियल फॉर एनी प्रोफेशन बाय इटसेल्फ. को तो सारी फील्ड में लगना है. डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल अभी नया आ रहा है. AI का यूज़ कैसे हो रहा है, उनकी प्राइवेसी क्या है, all those things are going to crop up. No, this is the area of practice which is going to open up for everybody, and more so for the legal professionals. So I'm sure in your law schools and all, you will get those training and that you are equipped to assist the society in times to come on these aspects.
They must actually.
They must.
Yeah. और कोई सवाल?
Sir, I want to ask that what do you think, does the freebies distribution policies of government affect the tax laws or tax policies in India?
I am not on the policy front, sorry. I can't. I will not like to say anything.
और नेक्स्ट ओके, जब तक दूसरा सवाल सर तैयार होता है, मैं आपको ये ज़रूर पूछना चाहूँगी कि ये जो जितने सर इस बार का खासकर बजट है, हालांकि ये बजट हम लोग अभी तो पूरा बजट जुलाई में आएगा, लेकिन अगर हमें पैरामीटर्स में डालना हो या पिछले 5 सालों में यदि आप देखें जिस तरह से गवर्नमेंट चल रही है और एक के बाद एक जो बजट्स आए हुए हैं, अगर एक 1 to 10 के पैरामीटर्स में डालना हो, आप कितने नंबर्स देंगे? Are we on the right path?
We are absolutely on the right path. And see, in the last few budgets, let's not go very far because public memory kam rehti hai. The budgets have been very pragmatic. They have been progressive. And in this year's budget, if I put it, the interim budget, it is a very, very sensible budget. Because obviously, the finance minister stuck to the norms which is required, but at the same time, because they are going into elections, so therefore there could not have been very major announcements or major amendments in the taxation provisions or otherwise. But at the same time, the continuity has been ensured with whatever announcements are being done. So which is a good message to the investors as such, that continuity ensures certainty in their dealings and for the investors and people who have to come into the country. So therefore, our budget has been on dot for that matter.
Great. एक वर्ड में अगर बोलना हो आपको इस पूरे बजट को अगर डिफाइन करना हो, which word would be?
Sensible.
That's great. Thank you so much, sir, for this show. And हमारी बातचीत हो रही थी GS पन्नू साहब से, जिन्होंने न केवल भारतीय बजट को जो इस बार आया है उसे डिकोड किया, बल्कि पूरी व्यवस्था हमारी किधर चल रही है और आने वाले भविष्य में हम किधर जा रहे हैं, इसी रास्ते को भी हमारे सामने उन्होंने रखा. और इसके साथ साथ वो सारी बातें जो हमारे और आपके लिए जानना ज़रूरी हैं, वो सब हमने इनसे सुना. तो आज के इस इंडिया लीगल में इतना ही. अगले हफ्ते एक बार फिर से एक विशेष अतिथि के साथ आपके सामने होंगी. तब तक नमस्कार.
रोज सब्जी का स्वाद बढ़ाए और घर वालों का प्यार पाए. गोल्डी सब्जी मसाले,
जहाँ जाए रिश्ते बनाए गोल्डी मसाले.
MDH किचन किंग मसाले को किंग क्यों कहते हैं? अगर MDH का किचन किंग किचन में हो तो हम सब कुछ बना सकते हैं. बैंगन का भरता, आलू गोभी, भिंडी मसाला, मिक्स वेजिटेबल, मटर पनीर और भी बहुत कुछ. ये तो मैजिक है.
बहुत बढ़िया.
लाइक मैजिक.
बढ़िया.
मसाले सच MDH
रूप मंत्रा आयुर्वेदिक फेस वॉश। इसमें है क्यूकम्बर के प्योर एक्सट्रैक्ट्स जो नेचुरली चेहरे को मॉइस्चराइज रखे। ये कोई कॉस्मेटिक नहीं, आयुर्वेदिक औषधि है।
ऐसे बनेगी बेहतरीन बिरयानी 3 आसान स्टेप्स में। भुने प्याज टमाटर में उबली हुई सब्जियां डालें, MDH का खास बिरयानी मसाला डालें, फिर उबले हुए चावलों की एक परत लगाकर 7 मिनट तक दम दें। हो गई तैयार बेहतरीन बिरयानी।
असली मसाले सच सच MDH MDH।
वृक्ष लगाओ, दुनिया बचाओ। हमसे हो हरियाली।
India Legal makes the difference because we bring you only the news that count.
India Legal, stories that count. Stop smoking. धूम्रपान छोड़िए।
Medical facilities have been provided to the people, thousands of people across the world. There are lots of landslides.